So here's the wind chart that I was talking about. Gives you one ring, 1.7. Actually, if you do the math, it comes out to 1.72. But how are you going to adjust for 2/100ths of a ring? I mean, it's hard enough just trying to figure out where the 0.7 is. So, but that's the actual math, 1.72. The problem is when you start getting these winds that we get on Tour 8 that are 10, 11, 12 miles an hour. So now you've got to do math in your head. You've got 8.6 miles per hour from the center to this outer ring, but I've got a 12-mile-an-hour wind. So I've got to figure out, okay, how many more rings do I adjust for to get the 12 miles an hour? It's a big pain in the neck. So I use another one called Dave's Wind Tool, especially for Tour 8 and above. You want to understand this first, and then you want to switch to Dave's Wind Tool. When you look at Dave's Wind Tool, what you've got here is I've got one place to plug in my miles per hour. Let's say it's 12.9. I get a lot of 12.9s. So 12.9 is actually 7.5 rings for the Thor's hammer, because you've got 1.72, 3.44, blah, 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 all the way up to 5 rings is 8.6. But I've got 12, almost 13 miles an hour wind, so I need to adjust by 7.5 rings, which means that I'm going to put my target line on the take shot down here at the bottom. I'm going to grab right here in the center, and I'm going to pull it down until I get to this yellow ring, which is 7. And then I'm going to go a little bit into the blue because it's 7.5. So I'm actually going to adjust to the middle of this blue ring right here. So I'm going to start on an edge. Let's say I've got a crosswind. I would start adjusting right here until I got to about the middle of the blue. That is 7.5 rings. And Dave's wind chart doesn't make you do math. All you have to do is plug in a number. Now I'm noticing as I get to Tour 9 and Tour 10, anything over 5 miles an hour, I've got to adjust 10% more, which means I can't adjust 7.5. I've actually got to adjust 8.3. And then anything over 10 miles an hour, or anything over 15 miles an hour, I've got to adjust 20. So that's why I have these 2 extra columns here, is because winds over 10 miles an hour, I've got to add that much. Winds over 15 miles an hour, I've got to add that much. Now, what are these 2? So 7.5 is my maximum club distance. So that is from max club through the overpower. So as you're pulling it back all the way through the overpower. Then your min club is where that point where it starts to switch back to your 3-wood. Okay, those 2 vary because the ball isn't going to fly as far and it's not going to be as impacted by the wind. So a maximum power shot is going to be impacted more than a minimum power shot. So you don't need to adjust as much if you're only hitting it min power. That's why you've got the min power here. So maximum 7.5, minimum 5.6. This is a mid-range. What I like to do is grab the marker and move it up and down until I figure out, am I min, am I minimum, am I about in the middle, or am I maximum power? And then I pick the number that's closest to where my shot is.